with some of the biggest clubs in Europe after some of the very best Chelsea players, and this long-winded compensation wrangle with Antonio Conte, Maurizio Sarri comes in with a very difficult job to do. Can he bring back some of the glory that you've seen over the last couple of years at Stamford Bridge next season?
I think he can, and I think the crucial thing about bringing him in is I think that Abramovich has done wonderful things for Chelsea, and we've seen some things that other clubs would only dream of seeing. You know, even at the moment, you've got to remember we're the holders of the FA Cup. So although it feels a bit doom and gloom, we need to put it in perspective. I think the one issue from the Abramovich era that he would love to rectify is the fact that we've never quite played the football that he would love to play. So if you go back a decade when we were a phenomenal team, we were having run-ins with Barcelona on a regular basis, I think Abramovich was very envious of the way that they were playing. They were playing the game in such a beautiful way, and I think he really wanted to emulate that. We've never quite had the right man to allow us to play that expansive game. And I think that the man that we've got in now, Sarri, is the perfect man for that job. And I think that if he gets us playing half as well as Napoli did, I think that we're going to be in for a real treat next season.
Is any part of you worried the fact that he hasn't necessarily had a huge amount of experience at a top club? I mean, he's had many clubs. He's worked his way up from non-league and lower league Italian football all the way up to Empoli before he got his big chance at Napoli, which he's done well, to be fair, but he hasn't actually won anything at this stage.
Of course, it's a natural thing to worry me, because also it's a stick that I used to beat Tottenham fans up with, as you well know. You know, the fact that Pochettino hasn't won a trophy is something that we relish, and I do think that it's an issue. However, I have one sort of example that I think should put those fears to bed. One of Chelsea's worst ever managers, one of the worst I've ever seen, really did seem clueless, was Big Phil Scolari. Phil Scolari came into Chelsea, he'd won the World Cup. He was the man, you know, he was a man with the track record. He was a man who won the biggest trophies and dealt with the biggest players on the biggest stage, and he was a clown. So I don't necessarily think that not winning a trophy or winning a trophy is the be-all and end-all. I'd prefer it if he'd won trophies. I think it's nice to have a track record of being a winner, but Scolari taught me that it's not all about that.
So what is it then? How are the fans feeling about this appointment? Obviously you've gone through Conte, pragmatic but functional, successful football. You're now with this much more kind of fluid and flair-driven management style. You know, what are the expectations from the Chelsea support next season?
You know, the words that you use there are really interesting. You said functional and successful, and we're kind of using them with negative connotations. Under Antonio Conte, in his first year, we won the league, having finished 10th the previous year, and then we won the FA Cup.
I guess that's my point, is that it's hard to have everything. You know, not everyone is Pep Guardiola, where you can get amazing football and win the league.
Well, this is it.
We've watched, you know, a lot of us are very happy because, you know, we're watching good football that's exciting, but we ain't winning.
You need to win it. You need to win a trophy, absolutely. And for me, I think it depends on what you prioritise. I think people like me, and I'm pretty sure that you subscribe to this as well, we will always see football about winning trophies. Like, it's not about entertainment for me. I'd love Chelsea to play a beautiful game. I would love us to have that expansive football. I would love us to just be Brazil of 1970. But the priority is trophies. If we can combine both, great. But what we need to do is make sure that we keep up our habit of success. And if we do that, but we do it well, then it'll be joyous.
To a Chelsea fan, what does a successful season look like?
I think silverware of any shape, when combined with Champions League qualification. League Cup combined with the top 4 finish, I would take. You've got to remember we finished 5th last year, and it's getting harder. Arsenal have got a new man in. It's going to be very difficult to get into the top 4. To break in, you're relying on somebody dropping out. Won't be easy. There's a lot of people pushing for it. So if we get into the Champions League, I will be delighted. If we can then combine that with some silverware, I'll be ecstatic.
Lots of Chelsea players on the radars of many big clubs: Hazard, Giroud, Courtois. How did Chelsea cope with that?
It's always nice to have your players linked with the super clubs of Europe. It means that you're doing something right. I think there's only a couple that we really do need to keep hold of. I think it's essential that Chelsea keep hold of Eden Hazard, and I think it's essential for any aspirations that we have to keep hold of N'Golo Kante. I think anybody else, I don't think it's such a big issue, because what we are fortunate enough to have is a manager who gets the best out of players. You know, if you look at what he did at Napoli, he had Koulibaly, he bought him, he took a good player and made a great player. Did the same with Mertens. So with a manager like Sarri, it's not exclusively about the personnel, it's about what he can do to the personnel, irrespective of who they are. If we get a big money offer for Thibaut Courtois, I'm pretty convinced he'll leave anyway. Willian, I'm convinced that Sarri's a man who can make it work with or without them in the squad.
Is he going to be given the time by a trigger-happy chairman, by fans that are obsessed with success, in your own words.
Yeah, I think we are obsessed with success. I completely agree with that. And also we have a chairman who isn't known for his patience. And this is what troubles me actually. Because when you bring in a manager and his remit is to completely rip up the blueprint that has been so successful over the years and to start something new and to implement an entire new vision of football, you can't do that overnight. We saw what happened with Guardiola. Guardiola went his first year at City without winning a trophy. Look at him now. You have to be patient. There is no point in bringing in somebody to rip up the rule book and then fire them if you lose 2 out of 6 games. Allow him to flourish and allow him to become the manager that we know he can be.
So if you're like 10th come Christmas, but you're starting, the fruitions are starting to come to the fore.
I think he'll be sacked.
You think he'll be sacked?
I think he'll be sacked. I'm basing that on years of experience. Abramovich is obviously very trigger happy, but this isn't exclusively an Abramovich thing. It's actually a Chelsea thing. If you go back and look at Chelsea's managers, since the 60s, only 2 have gone more than 4 years. Claudio Ranieri was one of them. Like, yeah, we aren't a club that allows managers time. Of course, it's a thing that Abramovich is probably at the zenith of this. You know, in the hierarchy, Abramovich is he's adopted this principle and taken it on some. But it's a Chelsea thing. We've never been patient with managers.
Come May 2019, what do you see?
So come May 2019, Chelsea have established themselves in the top 4, and tomorrow I'm flying out to Baku to watch Chelsea play in the Europa League final. I think it is a realistic possibility. I think those things could come true. Equally, I don't think it's going to shock too many people if we've got a new manager there. Could even have 2 by then.